Doing business in Russia is notoriously difficult. Even President Medvedev himself has acknowledged as much. Business Solidarity is an organisation that works to protect small businessmen, and it estimates that 1 in 6 Russian entrepreneurs falls foul of massive bureaucracy or corrupt officials and ends up in prison. Our Moscow correspondent Daniel Sanford reports on one man's fight to keep his company.
In most parts of the world, the business of producing milk is fairly straightforward. It's rarely linked to blackmail and skullduggery. But this dairy company, based in Kostroma, some 300 kilometers from Moscow, shows how dangerous doing business in Russia can be. It is owned by Dmitry Malov. He poured his life savings into an old milk factory and 2 rundown farms and borrowed money from the bank to modernize it all. By 2009, it had become a thriving dairy, selling high-quality milk and butter across the region.
The first sign that Dmitry Malov's investment was going to turn sour was when a group of officers from the Interior Security Service, the FSB, came to visit him. "Sell us your business," they said. "I don't want to," he replied. "Sell us your business," they repeated, "or you'll go to jail."
His business booming, Dmitry Malov continued refusing to sell. He was charged with fraud, accused of not using his bank loan for suitably modern equipment. Until the last day, he was certain the court would say he was innocent, but he was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison, just as the FSB officers had threatened. His wife, Tatiana, believes the officers were corrupt and in the pay of an unknown property developer who wanted to acquire the dairy's prime city centre plot.
I knew that there was a criminal investigation, but I never believed it would get to this stage. They called me from the court, they handed him the phone, and he said, "I'm being sent to prison."
Dmitry Malov's finance director, Diana Grishina, is trying to keep the business going in incredibly stressful circumstances. She was also found guilty, but given a suspended sentence.
If law enforcement didn't keep getting in the way of small business, it would be all right. They should be fighting terrorism, not us. We are in the business of creating things, not destroying them. And we are not harming anyone.
Tatiana Malov hasn't told their 2 children where their father is. They think he's on a business trip. In fact, he's just a few hundred meters away in the local jail, just one of hundreds of thousands of businessmen imprisoned in Russia because they wouldn't play by the rules of corrupt officials. Daniel Sanford, BBC News, Kostroma.
Now, it's a well-established fact that many families in India prefer to have boys rather than girls because girls need expensive dowries and they leave home once they get married. This has led to an alarming drop in the number of girls and a skewed sex ratio according to the latest census. Some campaigners say nearly 8 million girls have been lost in the last decade in India because newborn girls are killed or female fetuses are aborted after illegal sex determination tests. Sanjoy Majumdar reports on how, despite India's growing economic power and wealth, many just can't seem to let go of certain prejudices.
A new birth, the start of a new life. Introduced to the family, the doctor congratulates them, but they're disappointed. It's a girl, seen as a curse in rural India. We wanted a boy, says the grandmother. We'll just have to try again. Another newborn girl in a hospital across the road. And her father's dismay. He already has a daughter. He too craved a son. It's an attitude that's fostering a skewed society.
It is a scary thing. I mean, you really feel that this topsy-turvy sex ratio is going to have a lot of social problems. Sometimes when you wonder on this, you feel, is the future going to be safe for your children, whether it's a male or a female?
It's already creating a unique problem in parts of North India. because of the growing absence of local women. Mansi was brought to this village all the way from Orissa, several thousand kilometers to the east, as a bride for a local farmer. Socially and culturally, the two regions couldn't be more different. But her husband, Krishan, had little choice. He told us he simply couldn't find a local girl to marry, even after offering money.
Here girls are killed off even before they are born. No wonder there's a shortage of women in these parts.
Women are a constant presence in rural India, but their numbers are diminishing rapidly because of widespread discrimination.
There's so many reasons why girls are not valued here. They're seen as a bad investment. They marry and leave the family, often with large dowries. Sons, on the other hand, can bring in money, inherit land and property. It's a traditional mindset that's not just limited to the villages, but extends to the cities and among those who are educated and better off.
The one who was sitting in my lap right now, she's very practical, not at all.
In her parents' home in Delhi, Meetu Khurana shows me pictures of her twin girls. They're lucky to have been born. She was under pressure to abort them by her husband.
About your daughters, or you get at least one of them killed.
After being forced to take an illegal sex determination test. Now she's taking him to court, the first woman to take such action under India's prenatal laws.
It is something, it is taken as something so natural, the desire for a son, that it is me who is the wrongdoer here by filing complaint and by dragging my husband and in-laws to the court. The only reason why I am fighting it is that if this all can happen with an educated pediatrician, what security can I give to my daughters that when they grow up they don't face this? This is the only motivating factor which is making me go on.
India may be a growing economic power, but it's failing its girls. In this orphanage, there are 4 girls to every boy. Every face here has a story of being abandoned by their families. This baby, just 2 months old, so young, she's still unnamed. She was left in an open field hours after her birth. The police brought her here. These girls are waiting to be adopted and get a second chance. There are many others who'll never make it. They'll remain India's unwanted girls. Sanjay Majumdar, BBC News, Haryana.
And that's all from Reporters for this week. Join us again at the same time next week. But for me, Zainab Badawi and the team, goodbye.